Welcome back to another episode of Mosaic Minds Podcast. If you are watching this, you must be watching it on YouTube, so make sure that you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so that you can get any kind of notification whenever an episode drops or we go live, anything like that. And if you're listening, please make sure to follow us on your favorite streaming platform, and if you could, leave a 5-star review with a little bit of writing after it. Really helps us out a lot. Today we have actress and comedian Katie K on the show. She is originally from Arkansas and now based in Los Angeles. Her dry bar comedy special, Surviving Not Thriving, has remained on the top 10 dry bar app since its release. Her edgy comedy special, LMAOF Comedy, showcases her unfiltered comedy side, and her comedy album, I Am the Trash, airs regularly on SiriusXM. Katie tours nationally in comedy clubs, universities, and festivals. Happy to have her on the show tonight. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Mosaic Minds, we're here to explore. With every exchange, we crave even more. Diverse perspectives are guiding flame. In the realm of ideas, we play the
It is going to be a good day. It is going to be positive. The sun's rising today. We're going to have a great day regardless of weather or attitude or anything else.
Together we dive where dreams intertwine. Uncover the layers, let the realness shine. Each tale a treasure, each question a guide. In this space of connection, let's take the ride. Moments of wonder, reflections collide. The warmth of discussion, our hearts open
On
wide.
OnlyFans. Katie, can you tell us a little bit more about that and then about your background?
Yeah, I had a joke in my stand-up that you can hear on my album as well about someone sliding into my DMs and how people thought, okay, like if people want pictures of your armpits on Instagram, like maybe you should think about selling feet pics or pit pics on OnlyFans. So I've been telling a joke about OnlyFans, and then OnlyFans, the platform, started producing comedy specials. And one of their most successful specials that they produced was with Matt Rife. And so it really put them on the map for not just spicy content. And they started doing multiple releases with, 10 comics at a time. So they'll have like 8 to 10 comics on a show and do 15-minute mini specials. So I was selected for one of those tapings and taped it live in Pasadena a few months ago, and it just got released last month. And they keep putting out some like new clips and stuff. So you can definitely find that on OFTV if you search KDK. You don't need to subscribe to OnlyFans to see this special. You can just click the link and it's right there. So
That's really cool.
yeah, that's
So they're
the
trying to kind of
story
rebrand
behind it.
themselves, it seems like.
Yeah, they're trying to get back to their roots of bonus exclusive content similar to Patreon and not just softcore porn.
Yeah, right. That's cool. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into comedy in the first place? And then was that something that happened before you met your husband, or did you kind of pull him in, or did he pull you in? How did that work?
It was kind of simultaneous, comedy and meeting him, because I had just gone through a rough breakup and I was already doing improv and comedy acting. And then I was like, you know what? I have so much angst and material and I'm tired of waiting on my agent to get me auditions. So I'm going to write my own jokes. I'm going to perform my own material and not wait for someone else to call me. And then I met him shortly after I started doing stand-up, because I was then single out on the town, swiping away on Tinder. So it happened within the same year of me starting stand-up and meeting him. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I've always I always thought it'd be a lot of fun to be a comedy writer. I don't know if I always have a lot of respect for anybody that can get out on stage and do stand-up, because I don't think I'd have the balls to get out there and do the stand-up, but I always thought it'd be a lot of fun to express my creativity through doing like some comedy writing. Is that something that you've thought about as well? Like if you could get in as a writer, like on a on a show, sitcom, a cartoon, something like that?
Totally. I've written pitch packets, I've written a pilot, I'm working on a feature. So, I think you have to be kind of a Swiss Army knife human to be in the entertainment industry, anyways. So, I definitely try honing the other skills as well. I'm in like a acting class every Sunday, so it's definitely about kind of doing it all.
I really like, it's a financial term, but diversification of a portfolio. We're not going to talk asset allocation. Obviously, we're going to talk comedy in your projects. I really like that you're diversified in that. Could you maybe give me an A, B, and C of maybe 2 or 3 of your favorite projects that you've had, and kind of why you feel that way about each project? Maybe kind of a loaded question. You can take it any way you want.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have like these goals or markers in stand up, and it's not like other careers that are linear where you get promotions or you get assigned to a certain project. But I would say, like, I mean, I love doing my podcast. I've done it for almost 9 years as well. So that's like a really fun outlet for me. And then a huge goal in comedy that I had was the Dry Bar special, just because it's a big platform. It reaches a lot of people, and I always felt really ready to do it. And it was one of the most fun experiences to go to Provo, Utah and film, in front of this live audience. And they have a whole production house, and it was just so cool because I also wasn't sure how it would be received by like a Mormon crowd, some of my jokes, but they were like the most fun.
That's cool.
They were really down to have a great time, and so I was just blown away by their energy. So yeah, probably that special, my podcast. And then one of the, like, again, I love doing different stuff. So hosting that show on Pluto, it was similar to, like, if you remember Girl Code on MTV, where comedians watch clips and then react to them,
Right.
basically. It was very similar to that, and I got to work with 3 other comics, and so it was just us 4 sitting on a couch reacting to silly clips, and we filmed a whole season in one day, and it
Jeez, wow.
was, yeah, it was just so much fun. And I got to use basically all of my skills because I'm good at hosting and thinking on my feet, like improv and, my big reactions and comedy. Like, it was supposed to be funny and all this stuff. So, and working with other comics, because sometimes comedy can be kind of a solitary thing. So it was a lot of fun. So I think those stick out to me as my top moments.
I noticed on your website that it seems like you like to do voiceovers, and like especially like kind of like I don't know, like almost cartoonish voiceovers. So with all of the craziness, because I've been trying to stay on top of as much as I can, but with all the craziness with AI now and all the things that you can do, how much have you thought about incorporating that? Like creating like little cartoons, or create, even, I mean, they even have realistic like AI influencers. It's just nuts to me. Have you thought about something like that and then putting a voice behind it?
I haven't, because I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm AI illiterate, but I use Chat GPT to, for prompts or simple things. Would never have gone as far for like AI animation or anything like that. I like doing silly voices, but it's more like commercial auditions and things like that. So I haven't really gone that far down the voiceover rabbit hole.
How do you build rapport with your husband through various projects? He's in the comedian world, I'm assuming?
He got his start in radio, so
Nice.
he's not a stand-up comic adjacent enough to understand the grind and be very patient with my schedule, because I've also been very patient with his. He used to work for a morning show for 6 years where he worked from 2 a.m. to 11 a.m. And being a stand-up comic, I would usually get home around 2
Right.
a.m. So
Yeah. Yeah. We
it was, yeah.
we were watching your a little bit of the podcast with you and your husband, and if nothing else, I mean, you guys have amazing chemistry. Bounce off of each other really well as co-hosts, and obviously that's really important. You know what I mean? So you guys, definitely makes
Yeah,
that work.
thanks. Yeah, he's also a big personality. Like a lot of people think that a comic needs to marry someone that's kind of a wallflower or like lets them shine more, where I feel like he's really an equal. He has a big personality, also very outgoing. We kind of just support each other in moments that I know he's going to shine or I'm going to shine or whatever. So, and thank you. We bonded over, I mean, we clicked initially off of our sense of humor and like
Yeah.
our banter and stuff. So it lends itself well to a podcast. But he is the one, you know, with the radio background that had all of the podcasting equipment already when I moved in with him. So it was a really natural thing for us to start a podcast together. He'd already been in that world for a long time, and now he executive produces a podcast for Amazon Music. And so he's still utilizing those skills.
Shout out to the improv. My daughter's actually an improv, and then I'm a broadcasting major, so I love doing the ad lib. I know it's not comedy,
Yeah.
but I think what's funny is we used to get on the microphone and talk about the most minuscule, annoying sports we could, as opposed to NBA. We'd talk sailing, or we'd talk cricket, or we'd talk, just real stuff like that. We thought it was hilarious. And then I think the translation of that is in the real world, in the business world, it's always nice to have that, wow, I'm surprised they reacted like that and be able to adjust accordingly to that. So what's maybe an upcoming project or something that you thought that you want to do, maybe a preview to the audience or your crowd that maybe you haven't done that you would like the opportunity to do?
Yeah, so I guess twofold. I work like comedy clubs, corporates, and then I also do colleges across the US. But a new thing I'm dipping my toe into, I just got a cruise agent, so I might be
Cool.
performing on cruise ships soon. So I've heard, mixed reviews from people that work on cruise ships, but I think it'll be an adventure either way. So I'm excited to see how that goes. And then I am really I've booked a few acting roles recently for YouTube sketch comedy, which is crazy because the people I've booked these sketches with and things, you think, oh, well, it's just YouTube. I realized when I looked up their channel, one of them has 12 subscribers and one of them
Good for
has
you.
5 million. And so I was like, honestly, more people might see this sketch than would see a national commercial at some point.
Yeah.
Like, so I am starting to realize like that even though I'm doing stand up and I still really love it, like I am definitely still invested in that. I don't want to lose the part of me that also loves acting. So I'm just like full-fledged my acting because I post about that too. And I think I have so much fun. I have an equal amount of fun doing comedy sketches and stuff.
Well, YouTube is it's the OG for, for free videos that you can watch. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. I think it's only going to get bigger. They're just going to get more creative. And yeah, like you said, you see people with millions and millions of followers. And then there's also people that are just dedicated to, no one has cable anymore. So there's people that are dedicated to just watching free YouTube all the time. So yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool.
I like to use quirky analogies, but I think yourself and your family are able to kind of pour different ingredients into the pot, if you will, and stir it different directions, because I don't know if you agree with me, but from the research that we've done together and just kind of trying to learn to prepare is if you're putting out quality content, it doesn't matter what platform, someone's going to see you and someone's going to get that role. It's a lot easier to be found than it is to currently, constantly solicit people for that next role or upcoming thing. Just kind of an opinion, agree or disagree.
Yeah, I heavily agree. And it's like the power now that we have with people going viral. And then like I've seen it happen for acting and stand up where just stay in your lane, post your clips, and if and when they start to blow up, you book your own tour. So similarly with acting, being found or starting to blow up online is keeping the power in your hands, which is really cool.
Yeah, you mentioned Matt Rife earlier, and I'm pretty sure that's how he got huge was off TikTok, right? I mean, he already did his stand up, but I think TikTok is where people really started knowing who he was. That's how I learned who he was from watching TikTok.
Kind of
Yeah,
go ahead.
it was like a crowd work clip. I mean, he was doing really well, and then he's been doing it for like 15, 17 years or something. But then I think there was one specific clip that blew up that essentially changed the rest of his life.
He's great with the improv. Like he can just spit it off. Right.
Yeah.
I went and saw him when he was in Indianapolis. It's amazing. I wish I had that kind of wit. Like he just had it, like sharp as a tack the whole time.
Yeah.
What's maybe a project, kind of a bizarre question, but what's maybe a project that you've been presented with and maybe your husband was like, nah, not going to happen, or maybe like, have you thought about doing this? Is there ever a discussion there? Obviously, you're going to respect him, he's going to respect you, but is there any, not getting controversial, just more curious to say, that platform's not really for me, or no, that project doesn't really fit, my niche or whatever? Got any feedback on that but
bless him, he knows that the answer is always good job, babe. But also he genuinely thinks it's all hilarious, because from being a Jell-O wrestler on national TV in a leotard, to being on the OnlyFans network, to performing for Mormons, to like, he knows there's never a dull moment. So, and I do, for everything that I book, I do 200 more self-tapes. So he'll come home from work, I have a fake pregnant belly on, and I'm doing a self-tape audition for that.
life's exciting in your household. That's funny. Good stuff.
Do you guys do the prank thing with each other?
No, that would not go over.
Okay,
That would not go over well. I don't like to be scared. I don't like to be like, if he were to scare me in our home, like, I'm from Arkansas, so there would not, I live in LA, but I'm a gun owner. It wouldn't go well.
Sure.
It wouldn't go well.
I have been to Arkansas before, out there in Hot Springs, I believe. I saw the Bill Clinton Memorial or whatever. Like, went out there for a fishing show or whatever.
That's all there is. It's just Bill Clinton and Walmart. So you saw the whole thing.
What type of audience do you like to kind of be around or make laugh, I guess? Some people are real serious. I think it was funny how you said that the Mormon crowd was the interactive. You didn't have to really reserve, I guess, what you were saying, kind of in my own words. But is there a crowd that you wouldn't think of in a certain setting, say? Or do you just kind of obviously read the crowd and kind of go from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people, it's such a generic answer, but people that are just there to have a good time. I think there's some audiences in LA specifically that are so exposed to comedy shows and the arts constantly that they sometimes arrive to shows like, entertain me. Like, let's see if you're good enough. And so, like, while sometimes the Midwest or whatever gets a bad rap, I think the people at those shows sometimes are the most fun, because they're just there to laugh, and they don't care if you're not an A-list celebrity, and maybe this is their big night of the week, and not that they've been to 4 comedy shows that week and they're bored.
I've noticed that. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of the specials that they do, like the Netflix specials. They're not really in like you said, like in LA or New York or anything like that. Like they are typically, it seems like, in the Midwest. I don't know, Dave Chappelle, I think he's from Ohio, right? Like, didn't he set up like a big thing in Ohio? But I think you're probably right. Like LA, they're kind of just like, entertain me, right? So that probably is true. Is there a crowd that you don't, besides LA, and I'm not even saying you don't like to be around them, but is there a specific kind of crowd that maybe you would be hesitant to go in front of, or have been hesitant to go in front of?
I was asked to do a children's show, and open up, like, be a comic that opened up for a magician. So it was like, the magic show obviously is aimed towards children, and when I say children, I mean like 6, 8, 10 years old, not like 15. And I'm clean enough to do colleges. I'm clean enough to obviously do comedy in front of the Mormon community, but clean for a 6-year-old is different.
Yeah, totally.
So that, I think, is, I mean, I made my way through the 15-minute set because it wasn't that long, but if I had to do an hour in front of 6-year-olds, I don't know that I could do it.
Yeah, because they're really honest.
It's like you're always kind of, I kind of get that,
their attention spans.
Yeah.
And then they go home to mom and dad and they're like, hey, I learned this, like about, pissing on someone. You know what I mean? Like something random.
Yeah.
So tell us about America's Got Talent. I mean, I I wouldn't say I was like a big American Idol and that kind of fan, but I've always liked Simon Cowell. Like you gotta like Simon Cowell. So like, what was that like being in front of a panel? And it kind of seemed like, at least on the first video, that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you went on there that first time planning on winning. You kind of just were trying to get exposure, correct?
Yeah, the
Okay,
whole
yeah.
thing. Sorry to ruin TV magic for anyone out there, but I've never wrestled a day in my life, and I'm not a Jell-O enthusiast. It was a woman in casting is kind of a friend of mine, and she casts AG, or she was on the casting team for AGT during the pandemic when comedians didn't have much going on at all or shows to perform at. She asked me if I would be willing to do a sketch comedy character that she thought of, which was the Jell-O wrestling character. And I go, well, who would I be wrestling? And she was like, no, like the entity of Jell-O. And I was like, okay. And then she's like, but I'm going to need you to film a like audition video so I can pitch my idea to the producers. And so during the pandemic, I made 42 batches of Jell-O and got a kiddie pool off Amazon
Oh my God.
and splashed around in a $12 leotard and was like, here you go. And then she didn't respond when I sent the video for weeks.
Oh no. You're like, what did I do?
Yeah, so I just assumed that I bombed it. Like, it just felt like telling a joke and hearing crickets. So I was like, great, never mind. Let's forget this ever happened. And then she called me out of the blue 5 weeks later and goes, hey, you're going to be on TV next week. Like, are you free? And I was like, I mean, yeah, again, it's still the pandemic. Like, I'm very available. And she's like, you're going to be on America's Got Talent. And I was like, yay. And then she goes, as the Jell-O character. And I was like, oh no, great.
So you knew what to expect. Like you knew exactly what was going on when you went on there.
The thing that I think is funny is, and
Yeah.
I have a kind of a similar. It's like the more bizarre kind of the like, it's a badge of honor to be bizarre. Like I've told Nick, and you know, you can shoot me down and think it's a ridiculous idea, but I want to do an alter ego, you know, podcast sometime and interview a guest with just like that real like, I want to be like extremely arrogant. You know what I mean? And just like kind of like talking and just, you know, being that, because we try to let the person be the star, if you will. But I think when you look at the projects and like, I wouldn't have guessed that you would have done X project. You know what I mean? Like talking with this crowd or accepting this, or quite frankly, doing the role on America's Got Talent, because that's a huge platform, but it paid off in its own way. You know what I mean? It's not always an instant gratification. It's more of a long play. Some of them can be an instant play. Some of them can be overnight sensations. Everything, you know, everything that's out there. When you look at, give me some advice for my daughter. You know, my daughter's going into her sophomore year. She's in improv. They've traveled to about 3 or 4 states, competitions. What's your advice to that team embarking upon her second year, but embarking on the team's X amount of years there at the campus?
Ooh, that's good. I would say something that I've had to recently remind myself is to stay in my own lane and not get worried about comparing myself to others. I think with social media, we're always looking at, oh, how is this other improv troupe doing? Or how is this other stand-up comic doing? Or, oh, they booked that thing. Or, oh, they're touring where I want to be. Or, oh, that bit that they have is funnier than mine, or something like that. So I think like if keep the purity of their group, like if they're having fun doing what they like to do and they're producing art that they think is funny, instead of trying to make something that pleases everyone, or comparing themselves to another group and like getting really competitive. It's like it breeds such a toxic, I think with Instagram and TikTok and people putting a lot of content online, it's great and magical and you can get discovered, but it also makes you then second guess yourself and compare yourself a lot. So I think that would be my like biggest tidbit.
Weirdo analogy, but it's kind of like the artist that has abstracts. Let's stick to what we're good at, not a style that this guy does just to look like one of them. So I think that's solid advice. I really like that.
Does she do much social media stuff? Like improv on social media?
Oh, they do a little bit. I went to one and she thought, you know, I wouldn't, but I gave an example of a character. I just made up some random name, and she was embarrassed that I was involved. All of her friends came up to me and said, "Hey, thanks for volunteering."
Yeah.
They did the whole like 5 minutes of cooking a dinner for a family, then 2 minutes, then 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 5 seconds, as an example. And it's all
Yeah,
random
yeah.
topics that the crowd throws out. So it's I don't want to say it's different than what you do, but it's different but the same, if that makes sense. Group versus individual setting.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you know Matt then?
For
Sorry.
some reason in my head, the last Matt we just talked about was Matt Refe, and I was like, oh, I don't know him.
No, sorry. So
Hey, you could have gone with it though. Oh yeah, he's over here hanging out with us tonight.
So my brain was like, oh, no.
I know I get random sometimes, but how do you know?
He truly just found me from my podcast. So
Good.
it's
Okay.
just podcast inception at this point.
Nice.
That's cool. You said you've done the podcast for 9 years. That's amazing. How do you? I agree, it's a great outlet. We never when we started. We'd done it just a little over a year, and we never actually. It's even been a little longer. It was a year in February. And it started out just as kind of like you said, like a creative outlet. Just fun, something we could do because we work together. So it was like something we could do, like a little camaraderie outside of work. But how do you keep how do you keep it new and fresh and keep from getting like going through burnouts and all that? Because it's hard to just be like, okay, we're not going to do it for a couple weeks. You got to have like the consistency and everything. So how do you? It's probably more fun with your husband, but how do you keep it? How do you keep it fresh and keep it exciting?
Yeah, I think we've only missed a handful of weeks in the 9 years. We release one every Monday. So it's been a long road, or like if we're out of town, we'll pre-record something. But yeah, I think keeping it fresh by rotating segments. So evergreen segment that we've always had is the Judge Judy moment of the week, where I gripe about a small injustice during the week, and then decide who's in the right and what judgment we're going to rule upon someone. Like someone that cut me in line at the grocery store, judgment to the plaintiff, that energy.
I like that. Yeah.
But we rotate segments. So we used to do like Facebook memories segment, or shit babe says, which is when I used to talk in my sleep. So we keep it fresh by like adding new fun segments for sure. And then just life helps us keep it fresh, because a lot of our material just comes from stuff that has happened to us recently. And so it's very similar to my stand-up, where it's just like animated stories from our life.
So I like to judge our guest wrong, right, or indifferent. But I think what's interesting from the conversation we've had is you're open to new projects. You don't take yourself too seriously. You're willing to put your neck out there and try new stuff. You're constantly doing other things. I think it's very interesting that you have the dynamic with your husband. He's in the area, but he also, I don't want to speak for you, but Nick actually fulfills the technology side of our operation. So when it comes to the technology side, I'm weak, but I never got to use my broadcasting over a 25-year period, right? So I guess what I'm saying is
pipes
it's cool to be involved, and I can see why you're friends with Matt, our friend. I can see why you're successful doing what you're doing, and it's always you may plateau, but in all reality, you've always got that thing that you're chasing. So I think that always keeps it to where it's challenging, it's fresh. Your material may be the same when you do X amount of sketches or whatever, wrong word there. Scripts and things, but you're always constantly able to do stuff. And I think what's interesting is just being able to turn some stuff down, which it sounds like, you probably have to, if I'm guessing, you got to be selective with that. So it's been interesting. I think when a person's optimistic and they like to do stuff, it's interesting as to, what opportunity can come. It'd be funny to just hear a year from now, this random opportunity came to me and I ran with it. I can't think of a specific, but, just kind of throwing that out there.
Katie, where can everybody find you? Like if they want to watch your podcast or your stand-up, your YouTube, where are you at?
Yeah, all my handles are at KDK Comedy, KATIE, the letter K Comedy. So it's all TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of it's under KDK Comedy, or my website or any of that. So I link all my upcoming shows. I post my special clips. You can find my album under that. So all in one-stop shop.
Man, you lucked out with that domain and that handle, right? So that's everything. That's great.
I can't believe it wasn't taken.
Well, that's what I
know.
was thinking. I'm like, but you have been doing it for a while, so
I'm so lame. A guy came up to me that was kind of mentally challenged, is the way that I'm going to put it, to be nice. So what's a cow with 3 legs?
Is it the lean beef?
It's lean beef. Yeah. And then a cow with no legs is ground beef, right? My humor's.
Oh,
So now what I'm going to leave
wow.
what I'm going to leave this podcast with is since my humor is so lame and yours is at a higher level, that's why you're doing what you're doing, and that's why we're doing the podcast, right, Nick?
That's right.
Easy.
Last question that I have for you. Living out in California, I lived in San Diego 20 years ago. I went to LA probably 6-8 times. I'm going to pay it a compliment and say it's culturally diverse. There's things to do there that you can't always do. My send-off to you would be educate me in Los Angeles versus the rest of the United States. Like I know some people are holding you to that high standard, kind of like a Madison Square Garden in basketball, but just I'm going to be quiet and let you kind of send
I'm
us
really
off
fascinated to
with
hear what her answer is.
LA versus the rest of the United States. Let's focus on LA. You're on a Thursday night. It's 8:30. You hit the stage. Go from there. What do you kind of expect with an LA crowd versus the rest of the United States?
I mean, an LA crowd, I think they're a little bit more highbrow, or a little bit more like they're culturally and politically woke, and they don't want like the lowest hanging fruit. They don't really want a fart joke. They don't really want like super blue collar. It definitely works sometimes, but I think they're more into, like, on a Thursday night here, I would do jokes about my therapist or something like that more than I would do like shit myself at an amusement park. Like, you know what I mean? So I think I would just curate it, but I really do try to listen to the beginning of the show of what they're responding like to other comedians. And if, comics doing a joke and it seems like they clam up, like they're doing a dark joke about someone that they know that died, because dark humor is hilarious, but some people don't like it and they pull back. And then I won't do any of my dark jokes when I go onto stage after them, because I notice that. So it really is dependent, but I think just as a region, I try to avoid like the low-hanging fruit when I'm in LA.
Very good. Very good. I always thought LA was interesting because you have a small venue and then the Red Hot Chili Peppers are playing. It's like a 300-seat venue where they can fill up 50,000 seats. But the point I'm making is that was my experience. So it was a great city. Really, really liked it. You can do pretty much anything you want to do.
Like there's just A-list comics, celebrities that will drop into a bar show. So, and there's so many, obviously there's the main clubs all within 10 minutes of each other as well. But I've been on so many lineups where, we have a surprise drop in. What? And this is a room of 50 people, but they are working out material for their next special. So totally, like, that happens all the time.
I have to throw this out here because I love the show, and most people I talk to, they're like, they either haven't heard of it or they haven't taken the time to watch it. Have you watched Hacks?
Oh my gosh, it's my lifeblood.
Oh my God, isn't that the
episode.
best? Okay, thank God. I finally found somebody that likes that show. But yeah, I love that show so much. Nobody knows what I'm talking about, but yeah, that's just great. I love their dynamic and all that. You find can you relate to some of that? I mean, maybe not that specific, but like, can you relate to some of that stuff?
Yeah, and then the comic she scouted on this last season, and like one of the last 3 episodes, like, know him. I wouldn't say we're like besties, but we've done shows together. So it was just like a cool inception moment, because I was like, oh, there he is,
Yeah, that's really cool.
So being extremely polished and distinguished and, all this other good stuff, if you were telling one of your friends or coworkers or whatever about our podcast, would we stay off the do not contact these guys to be on their podcast list?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Success, Nick. Good job. Good job. Good job.
Definitely endorse the Mosaic Minds, so you're good.
Very good.
Do you have any advice for us as a seasoned podcast host? Do you have any advice for our podcast?
That's a good question.
I would just say stay consistent, which it seems like you already do, and don't be afraid to pick a strong point of view, because I feel like it's more interesting to listen to people that really speak their mind and don't just try to play both sides.
Yeah, agreed. All right, cool. Well, thank you very much, Katie. It has been a lot of fun. Again, Katie K. She gave her contact information, our websites, or different social media platforms, and we'll make sure that we put all that in the show notes and in the description on YouTube. But hey, we look forward to maybe talking again eventually. And anytime we have a guest on, I can always picture, I'm like, this would be a cool idea to get this person and this person together. So we may be reaching back out again sometime soon.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Appreciate the hospitality. Continued success in the rest of the year.
Thank you.
I'm going to